Hello, boys and girls. This week's lesson is on biomagnification. All right, so what does that mean? Well, the key words in this phrase are bio, which means life, and magnify, which usually means to get bigger, but in this case, it means more concentrated. So when a toxin is introduced to the lowest levels of an ecosystem, it can become more and more concentrated in larger predators due to their body's inability to get rid of these toxins after consuming smaller animals that carry it. So what does that mean? Well, let's talk about that. First, step one is to watch my instruction video, which you're doing now, hopefully. Step two is you're going to watch the Amoeba Sisters video on biomagnification and the trouble with toxins. So the sisters talk about DDT, which is a chemical pesticide, and basically they walk you through how it came about in the 1940s and people were using DDT on their crops because a lot of insects were attacking their crops. And back in the 40s, the population was getting really big of humans, right? So we as humans needed more food. So crop demands were very high and they needed to make sure that they were able to meet those needs. So scientists started coming up with ways to kill insects that love to munch on humans' crops. And back then, later on, they didn't understand that DDT could be harmful to our crops. So they ended up banning the usage of it, okay? Now, there's a lot of different cases in this video that they talk about, and then they go into what does biomagnification actually mean, okay? And they also talk about mercury in marine life, okay? So that brings us back again to our study of marine life. Now, when we're going through these questions, all right, you're gonna go to the biomagnification worksheet. Some of you have an H, some of you don't, okay? Some of your questions may be a little different than what you see on this screen in front of you now. Part one is just questions on the video that you're gonna watch. And I put in some illustrations here that I screenshotted from the video so that you can see which part I'm talking about when I'm asking you specific questions. And a lot of these answers are a little open-ended, so I want you to be able to talk about it in your own words in a few sentences, right? So here's our questions about consider the toxin with the ability to bioaccumulate, which is another word for biomagnify, right? It's the same thing. If the insects are exposed to this toxin, I want you to explain how the toxin gets to these guys and then gets into these guys, okay? So again, we're paying attention. We want to be able to explain it in our own words. If you're having trouble, then I suggest watching the video again and then maybe looking up some information from another source if you think you need it explained better, okay? Now, then I ask you, which consumer level from this diagram would you predict to have the highest concentration of toxin and why? All right, again, another video question. And here's an illustration of where you might be able to find that information in the video, okay? The video also mentions that many toxins, such as many pesticides, do not necessarily stay isolated in the area they are intended to be placed, okay? Now down here, I want in a few sentences, like 5 sentences, okay, I want you to walk through how mercury goes up this food chain. All right, mercury is a toxin that we as humans have had concerns about because there have been populations of people that have unfortunately died of mercury poisoning because of pollution. There was a case in Japan that happened some years back and things like that. So this is important for us to be able to understand how this actually affects us and how humans actually caused this issue. So it's unfortunate, but we want to make sure that we understand that it does happen and how it affects us and why, okay? So you want to be able to walk through that. So they briefly talk about that in the video. And then this is a good place for a break, okay? Great break time. So you want to make sure that if you need a snack or a nap or time to concentrate on English or history or something for your mental break, that's great. Go for it. And then come back to this later. Don't submit it yet, of course. You want to make sure that you did not submit this document before you are finished with the work. It's on Google Docs, remember, so it'll save. So this says, basically you're going to go to an article. I'm going to give you guys a link to an article. And this article tells you how pumas or mountain lions in Santa Cruz are suffering from mercury poisoning and how that has affected us. Well, not humans, but it's gone on to land. Okay, so mercury has gone from the fog, from the ocean onto land. So I want you guys to be able to explain why that is and how that happened. So you're going to have some questions on this article, and that's about it. So good luck. Tell me any questions that you have, and I'll talk to you soon.